guys, it's Sara Evans. Welcome back to another episode of Diving In Deep. Today on the podcast, we have the lead singer and frontman of the band MercyMe, Bart Millard. The Grammy-nominated band known for their hit song, I Can Only Imagine. With a career spanning over 25 years, his deeply personal songwriting resonates with millions worldwide. So join Bart and me today on Diving In Deep to discuss his journey and his story of hope and redemption. You guys, please download this episode, subscribe to our channel, share this episode, share all the episodes, like them all, comment, do all the things. It really, really means the world to us. I love you. Y'all have 5 kids, don't you?
We do.
Yeah. Okay. I try to remember all their names because I love all the names.
Me too.
Sophie.
Yeah.
Miles.
Yeah.
Ella.
No, I like that.
I know Ella's cute.
Man.
Okay. Yeah. Well, dang it. I just have Sophie and Miles.
And then there's Charlie, Gracie, and Sam.
So cute. I love all those names. I love all the old-fashioned names.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I have, my son's name is Avery, and then my 2 girls are Olivia and Audrey.
Yeah.
But Avery I got from the movie The Firm.
Oh, yeah.
We just went back and watched all of those John Grisham movies.
Yeah.
And it gave you such a nostalgic feeling.
That's awesome.
Anyway, Bart Millard. How do you pronounce Millard?
Technically, it's Millard, but
okay.
For years, I would say whatever the opposite of whoever's interviewing me. So I kind of...
Yeah.
If they said Millard, I'd say Millard because it was a dare, and now it's like haunts me all the time.
Now you can't remember what it is.
Yeah, but technically it's Millard.
Bart Millard.
Yeah,
because it looks like Millard,
and it kind of rhymes with Bart, so people kind of go there.
That's
but you don't shop at Dillard's. You don't play.
You're right.
You don't play billiards, or it's not a mallard duck. I don't know.
You're so right. Yeah, I wish I knew. And you don't say Wizard.
Yeah, it's not Willard
wizard.
Scott, the weatherman. No, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You're so right.
I think it's because it rhymes. People want it to be Bart Millard. But
yeah, I do. I want it to be Bart Millard.
Well, then it is for this show. It's
okay, Bart Millard. Thank you so much for coming. This hour flies by, so I'm gonna cut right to the chase. You have the biggest gospel song of all time, correct?
That's what they tell us. Yeah, I don't know. How do you know anymore?
I would say top 5 my favorite songs of all time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. And I was listening to it earlier just to kind of, get back in the Bart Millard voice and MercyMe sound and all that. And I started crying again. Oh. And I've probably listened to that song 800 times. Does it still hit you every time you perform it?
In some ways, I mean, I'm sure you can relate. You have those songs that, you can do in your sleep, and your mind's probably not there half the times you do it. You're thinking about if you turn the iron off or whatever. Right. But there's always that response from the crowd. There's somebody there that it just seems like it's the first time they're hearing it. And so you feed off them. They respond. You're like, I'm never going to get tired of this. Just being grateful.
The combination of the music and all of it. Like, who thought of the da-na-na?
It's I wrote it back in '99.
Alone.
Yeah, it's one of only 2 songs I've written by myself.
Amazing.
By choice. Like, that was one of the first songs I wrote, and then it got so popular. And I'm in a band, and I will always be in a band. Solo artist. I don't know how you guys do it, but it's and so I got.
I don't know how you divide the money with the band.
We got used to not having money for a long time, so
everybody. You're in MercyMe.
Yeah.
Because there will be some younger people or maybe whoever.
Sure. I get it. Yeah, totally.
So MercyMe, just to be clear.
Yeah. I didn't like the attention. Like, people were separating me from them because I wrote it and wasn't a fan of that. And so I've co-written every song since, just if it's a word, just because I don't like the attention.
Really?
And I like community. I love co-writing more than anything.
Yeah, but you got so rich on that song.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm fine.
I know you did, because that song will never not be. That song was a gift from God to you.
Yeah,
it truly was, because I think, I got saved when I was 21.
Okay,
I grew up in a really small town in the middle of Missouri on a farm.
What part of Missouri?
Well, okay. Do you know where Columbia is?
I do. Yeah, half our band's from Columbia and Guthrie and areas like that.
You're kidding me.
Our drummer grew up in Guthrie. Nathan grew up in Columbia. Our manager's from Poplar Bluff.
My granny and papa lived in Columbia. So I spent,
Okay.
and it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes from our farm that was outside of Boonville, Missouri.
Okay. All
So,
right.
yeah.
We
So
used to do camps in Roach, Missouri every summer for years.
Are you sure it wasn't Roachport?
No, it's Roach outside of
Okay.
Camden, Missouri. It's like Windermere is the name of the area. I'm not sure what part. I thought it was near Lebanon, Missouri.
Okay.
Near
yeah.
Lebanon.
I know where that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we grew up going to a little country church, but I would say it was very lukewarm.
Right.
But I got all the basics, you know what I mean? I learned about God and I learned the Bible stories and things like that. And I always loved that my name was Sarah because I'm like, I'm in the Bible, Sarah and Abraham. But I didn't get saved until I was 21. And I think a lot of people struggle with the Lord, struggle with having a relationship with the Lord because it's connected to our death.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
And so I think a lot of people just don't want to think about it and it kind of scares them.
Right.
Instead of just realizing that we're already in forever. And have you seen that Instagram going around where it's the twin babies in the mother's womb and they're talking and they're like, do you think there's a life outside of birth? And it's so amazing because it's like how we all think, you know, what happens when we die?
What's after this?
Do you truly believe there's a heaven after we die? You know, and so they were turning it, saying, and the one baby was like, "No, there's no way."
Yeah.
I mean, this is it. How could there be any?
It's all we know.
This is all we know.
Yeah.
That's right. So I think that, in my opinion, a lot of people stray from. I think even Christians sometimes, because it just goes to you thinking about after we die. That's when we're going to be with the Lord.
Yeah.
But your song made it not scary anymore. Like I could cry just talking about it. Your song made it not scary.
Yeah. Well, when I was 19 when I wrote it, I take it back. I was 19 when my father passed away, and then I wrote it about 8 years later. But when at the gravesite, my grandmother said, "I can only imagine what he's seeing now," and for some reason I got obsessed with what she said. And but I wasn't the super Christian or whatever. I was almost 19, and people kept saying all day, if he could choose, he'd rather be there than here. And that's not the greatest thing to say to an 18-year-old.
Right.
And so I was, the song, I was kind of ticked, like, okay, what's so great about God that he would rather be there than here with me?
Right.
And so for years it was, I dwell on it, but not like, it was more of a like, okay, what's so great about you? What's the big deal?
Right.
By the time I wrote it, my dad died in 91. I wrote it in 99. I was in a different place, and I kind of understood. I was like, man, you know, this, you know, I obviously, no pun intended, I can't imagine what it's going to be like. And it's just, I think it's not dogmatic. It's not shoving the Bible down your throat. I'm asking the same questions that some other people are asking.
Yeah.
Like, what would I possibly do if you're that great? And yeah, I don't know. It's just
because we believe by faith, you know, and it's not by works. So we're saved so no man can boast. So we have to believe. And it's like that scene on Steel Magnolias where, you know, Annelle, she says, you know, I know that Shelby is beautiful and she's healthy and she's with our king and you know, Sally Field plays a mom. She's like, that's just great. And that might be true, but I'd rather have her here with me because this is all we know.
Totally.
But I can only imagine made you focus on, that's right.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what it will be like. And I had a near-death experience.
I know that.
And I almost died in an airplane crash.
Wow.
And I was half a second from death. And I fully accepted it. And I was excited because I was like, this is it. I'm about to meet Jesus.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I just cannot tell you how much that song has meant to me over the years.
Oh, I appreciate
And your
That's
music.
awesome. Yeah.
And we've stolen your music. I might have told you that on Closet Chaos.
I don't know.
So, Oh Holy Night.
No, Drummer Boy.
Both.
Yeah, I think I told you this, but I may have said it. I probably should have watched the last podcast, so I'll probably repeat myself a bunch. But
no.
Man, you were like a, I don't know if you were new on the scene, but you were just hot as fire coming on. And our paths crossed at some event. I don't even remember what it was. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's Sara Evans. And before I could say anything, you went, I love Drummer Boy. I'm recording Drummer Boy. And you just kept walking. And I was like, well, my day's done. I'm good. And we didn't get to meet. That's all you said as you walked by. I have no clue where that was. But
oh my gosh. I'm such an idiot.
No, I loved it.
We also stole Oh Holy Night.
Okay.
Your
that's
version.
Awesome.
Yeah. Are you the piano player?
No, heck no. I don't play anything. I just sing and write.
You just sing and write.
I play with these 4 fingers.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Well, I play drums.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're better than me.
Yeah. But I don't play drums on stage.
Gotcha.
But I'm kind of a good drummer. But anyway.
Kind of a good drummer.
When did you get saved? Because I read that you had kind of a rough childhood.
Yeah. I got saved at a church camp when I was like 13.
Okay.
And one of those just kids that walked forward and on a certain night and had no clue. I don't think I had any idea what I was doing. I said there's a difference between, I was kind of that kid that was drowning and got thrown a lifesaver and just held on for dear life. And it wasn't until probably when my dad died in 18 when I kind of realized that I'm doing this from now on, just telling people about Jesus and knew it was part of my life. But like a lot of kids, there's no fireworks, just went forward and
and there aren't really no matter when you get saved. And that's,
but I grew up in the church like you and my whole life. And
like I got baptized when I was about 10, but it really didn't mean anything. And I was living in fear and just lots of fear, like, nuclear war and like late 80s, early 90s. And I just found a Bible in a hotel room and just started reading the New Testament. So I didn't get saved from a preacher or a church or anything.
Wow.
I just got saved really from John 3:16. Like, okay, well, that's what you have to do.
At 10?
No.
Oh, 6
At 21.
Oh, okay. That's same with me. Like at 10, you comprehend about as much as you can.
Right.
But I think it clicked when I was 19. Yeah.
Do you feel like being in a Christian band, because like I'm a Christian, I don't believe in gray rules that organized religion tries to put on you.
Sure. Legalism.
Thank you. I can never remember that word. I hate legalism because it doesn't it quenches the Holy Spirit.
Totally. Yeah, no, I agree.
Holy Spirit can't, help me make decisions because I'm just following what someone tells me to do.
Yeah.
And Jesus said, I'm going to send you a helper so that you can have your own growth, have your own relationship with me. And so like, I drink and I've got tattoos and, I cuss sometimes but I love the Lord so much. And I truly believe that the main thing is it's how you treat others. So it's love God, love others.
Sure.
And that's the true fruit of a believer.
Yeah. I agree. I totally agree.
In a Christian band, do you feel like pressure to, nobody can drink or nobody can, or everybody has to, do you guys all kind of try to follow the same rules that keep you sort of in check?
We used to. I mean, last August was 30 years we've been together. And
amazing.
Which is, yay for old people. But for years,
hey, you're younger than me.
I don't feel it. But we were very legalistic, if you will, early on, because that's the way we were raised. And it's like we had to be better than other people, whatever. And then probably in 2012-ish, I kind of hit a wall and just couldn't I couldn't be good enough. It just wasn't possible. And I really wanted to quit. And it's like kind of the high, we were super successful, but then at times my family's hanging by a thread because I was just a mess and dealing with a lot of stuff and tried to quit. And the guys were like, why don't we try to fix what's broken? And I was like, there's just too many rules. We can't, we'll never be able to be good enough, which is basically what the gospel says. Like we couldn't do it on our own. And
correct.
And so my wife and I say that's when we stopped caring in a healthy way. Like and so no, we're it's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
Like I don't like wine, but I'll have a wine with my wife and it's not what it used to be, because it was just like, everything felt empty and hollow. And I think that was also about the same time when I started understanding what my identity in Christ and what grace truly is. And a dear friend of mine said, and I say it on stage every night, is, if you live believing that there's truly nothing you can do, not a single thing you can do to make Jesus love you, any more than he already does right now, then how do things change? Right. And that on your worst possible day, if you know Christ, he still sees you as holy, regardless of what you've done. And so it's way more fun to live that way and freeing. And that's since 2012, that's all we talk about on stage is against legalism and just, man, he loves you as you are. And it's the biggest issue is you don't love yourself that much.
Right.
And that's why you try to do all of these things thinking, well, if I can put another notch on my belt, then maybe he'll love me more. And he's like, no, he digs you. He always has.
Always.
You've got to figure out how to be in love with yourself the way he sees you.
Absolutely. Yeah. How do you define your identity in Christ?
I am, my identity in Christ. I am holy and righteous and redeemed because of Christ in me, not because of anything that I can do or will do. I can't do enough good to make him love me anymore, and I can't do enough bad to make him ever turn his back on me. Mm-hmm. And it's like, once that settles in, it's like, just live, man.
Yes.
And just, and it's just freeing. And so, some people, I'm a sinner saved by grace, stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, I guess I am. But Paul even talks about sin as this separate thing inside of him. The sin is not who I am. It's, I deal with the enemy and these bad thoughts, but I have a heart of flesh, not a heart of stone, and I'm a new creation. And so it's when you start to realize that sin doesn't have that power on you, then it kind of starts to shrink. The mystery kind of goes away. And
that's right.
Yeah, and it's just, I mess up and I do things right sometimes, but I'm the same person in Christ, and I sleep way better, not stressing that I got to do something right. Or
that's so that's so great. That's exactly how I believe, and because there's nothing you can do to lose your salvation, and especially you understand that when you have children, because we're just normal sinning human beings.
Yeah,
there's nothing our kids could ever do that would make us not love them or forgive them.
Totally.
God is perfect.
Yeah.
And so just imagine, how much more he loves us no matter what.
Yeah.
It's not like I have a, pass go card or a free card to just do whatever. But I think that mostly has to do with how you treat people.
Yeah.
But have you ever heard that Avett Brothers song? He probably based it a little bit off of I Can Only Imagine.
Yeah.
But it's called No Hard Feelings.
Oh yeah. I know that song.
He asks all those questions like what will it be like?
Yeah.
He says, will I run to the Lord and will we embrace, or will we shake hands laughing?
Yeah.
And I love that because people forget that we're already in eternity.
Right.
We're already in eternity.
100%.
This is just, and this life is important, but the main reason for this life is to bring others to Christ.
Yeah.
And, and to love and help people. So, I don't like all the rules and the man-made stuff. And it's like, you can't get to God unless you go through me.
Yes.
And I'm like, you're just another human being.
Yeah.
You can't say that to me.
Yeah, if it sinks in and you realize there's nothing you have to do, you don't have to be good enough, but that, if it's all downhill from here, because you know Christ, it's like he's still madly in love with you.
Right.
And it's like it's accepting that that's true, and it's super freeing. And it's like, but once that settles in, then it's all of a sudden I can't keep up with the rules. I got to do this and not do that. It's more of like, man, if this really is true, then it's sweeter than the sweetest thing I can think of.
Totally.
And it's like, why wouldn't it be something like that? Like I've made more friends that probably don't know Jesus that just love being around us since kind of realizing that than, there was a time where I was like, oh, I don't know if I should be hanging out with them or whatever. And it's like, who cares? Like, it's
yes.
yeah.
Because as there is God, we also have to remember that there is an enemy.
Sure.
Always trying to put that in us.
Yeah.
Like, rules. And I mean, the best way to fool believers is to sneak into the church.
Totally. Yeah. That's what I mean by most people struggle with, they don't really care for themselves and cannot accept the fact that the God of everything would ever be like, I don't care what you've done. I will never care what you've done.
Yeah.
I love you right where you are. And, and if you become a better person, whatever that means over time, it's not because I told you to, it's because this clicks and you get it. And then you just have this joy and this kindness and stuff that just kind of, I don't want to scare the hell out of people. I want people to want to be like this. And,
yes.
we overcomplicate things sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. And the Bible says more than anything, do not fear. And so we shouldn't fear and we shouldn't have guilt. I mean, those are all lies from the enemy. We should just be joyful.
Yeah.
But I always tell the Lord, like, but please don't make me have to be the one to say, God, trust the Lord. It's all for his purpose. Because I struggle with fear.
Sure,
a lot.
I do too.
It's probably my biggest sin.
Yeah.
And that's a sin. Like getting drunk isn't really a sin. Fearing is a sin because the Lord wants you to just trust him that he's got you. He's got your finances. He's got your family. He's got your marriage. And, I've had a very, very dramatic life. And, so I understand why I'm fearful because you always think the bottom's going to drop.
Sure. Yeah, of course. I think it's natural. I mean, I'm what they call, I have a phobic, I don't know if you know the Enneagram is or whatever.
Yeah,
but
I just took it. What are you?
I'm a 6.
I'm a 2.
I'm a phobic 6, which means 6 is a loyalist to where I'm like, I doubt everyone, but as soon as I trust you, I'll take a bullet for you. But I'll know the exit in every room before we ever start, just because I'm always like, what if something goes bad? And there's a counterphobic, which they'll fight the fear head on. I'm a phobic where it'll freeze me in my tracks. Like,
really?
It's probably been the last 5 or 6 years that I've realized with Enneagram, like what it is, but it's pretty fascinating. But if I'm like, I'm sure at some point when you ask me to do the podcast, I'm sure in my head, I'm like, man, her fans don't want to hear from me. And I'll talk myself off the ledge at first and then have to fight through it. Like,
wow.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Wow.
Yeah. Even to the point when I pulled up in parking with someone, I was like, oh, I'm going to be late. We probably should, it'll cross my mind in like 5 minutes before I walk in the door. It's a constant struggle always.
So it's always a no for you first.
Yeah. 100%.
In your mind.
Yep.
Always
and then
a no.
I got to fight through it. Yeah.
Was that a struggle with your band members and you?
I think that's the reason I could never be a solo artist and have to make the ultimate decision. Like I work better with a group of guys, and they're my best friends in the whole world, and they know that about me, and so I lean on them a lot, but they get it.
Describe the band. What are all the because you might be like this too. I don't obsess over music.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I obsess over like a song, like I can only imagine is one of my obsessions, has been since it came out. But I don't obsess over knowing every single thing.
Oh, I got you.
Okay, so I don't know every single thing about MercyMe. I just know.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I don't know what the instruments are. What's the instrumentation? How many are on the road?
Right. There's 5 of us in the band, and the 5 of us have been Mike Schweitzer, our guitar player, and myself started the band in '94, And the rest joined probably within a couple of years after that. So it's been the main guys. But Robbie Schaefer's our drummer, Nathan Cochran's our bass player, Mike Schweizer's guitar player, and Barry Garl's our other guitar player.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Do you have piano on tour?
We had a 6-member Jim, and he got off the road because of kids like 2012 or something like that.
Okay.
And so he was irreplaceable. So our bass player actually taught himself to play piano to cover that. Yeah.
So he plays the beginning of I Can Only Imagine.
Yeah, he does.
Amazing.
When I say taught himself, that's all he was like, I have to learn that. And then he's gotten really good playing other stuff, but mainly just to do Imagine.
You have one of those voices that's kind of like, you kind of sound like a 90s grunge alternative.
Yeah, we were obsessed with Pearl Jam and
that makes
Hootie and
sense.
the Blowfish at the same time. We loved all that stuff.
Love Hootie and the Blowfish. Yeah. And who else? Like, we were just, kind of like, they pay paradise and put up a pocket.
Like the Counting Crows? Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Yeah. All of that. When we started in 94, those were all the albums. And so we wanted to be them and made awful grunge records at first. And then we started writing our own music, and it wasn't great. And then we realized every summer we would do church camps, and that's the only thing that would pay the bills is us doing these, covered worship songs. You did hand signs and really corny, and we'd do that for a summer, and we would store it for the winter, and then we'd go back to making music that no one cared about. And then at some point we were like, what are we doing? Like, if we do these camps, what if we tried writing our own kind of worship songs or whatever. So in 99 is when we wrote this album called The Worship Project. And I had this weird superstition about, I never want an even 10 songs on an album. It has to be at least 11. I don't know why. And we had 10. I needed one more song. And so the night before we were done in the studio, I wrote Imagine to make it the 11th song. And we never played it for a year because it didn't fit the whole hand signs and whatever's on PowerPoint that kids would sing to. So it was just this heaven song that I'd been thinking about with my dad, and put it on there, and went about a year. And then at one of the camps, they were like, hey, can you play that heaven song? We're like, man, we don't know it. We've never played it live. So we were behind the curtains while he was preaching, quietly learning the song. And then we played it at the end of the service, and the spotlights were on our face. We couldn't see the crowd, and we finished and it was dead silent. And we were like, this is the worst mistake we've ever made. And when the lights came up, that everybody was kind of like at the altar and praying and stuff. And we're like, oh, wow. And we'd never experienced anything like that. And so,
wow.
So no more Pearl Jam.
So you wrote that just because of your superstition, you needed an 11th song. Yeah,
I was looking for we had the studio for one more day, and we were driving home from a show. And I was looking, since for years, my grandmother said that at the funeral about, I can only imagine what your dad's doing. Mm-hmm. I used to write the phrase, I can only imagine, anytime I get, like if I'm on hold, back when you had to sit there and you either practice your autograph or doodle, I would write that on everything.
Right.
And no, I'd never written a song at that time. And then we were on the bus, and I was looking for a blank sheet to start writing something. And every page had I can only imagine written on it. And so I was like, oh. And so started writing it that night on the bus, wrote it like in 10 minutes. And it's the only song that like nothing changed. Like I have the sheet that I wrote. There's no scratch marks. It's exactly what is in the song. It was like, it was definitely a God thing. And so I wrote it and went in the next day. They tried to make it a fast song, and I hated it. And
like then, fast how? What kind of?
It'd be like a Creed or something dumb like that back then. And they just want to make it. They love rock music, and
so like I have to know this. Like they wanted it to be like, I can only imagine. Well, like that fast,
it wasn't even the melody yet. It was like it'd been like, I don't know if you know Corduroy by Pearl Jam or something like that. It was a fast song, and it was awful, and I hated it because the lyrics were really special to me. And I said, you know what, forget it. It's not going on this record. And then as we were packing up, I hit those 3 notes on a piano, just goofing off. And then Jim, our keyboard player, was like, wait. And he started kind of going with it. And we were like, okay, this may work. And so we did it. And then the independent version really didn't change much from the album, the one that got released. And so, yeah.
Amazing. So, like, I had a difficult relationship with my dad as well. And we didn't... So my parents got married and had 5 kids, and they were married for 18 years. So when I was 12, they divorced, and I was the oldest girl. There's 2 boys and then 5 girls.
Okay.
The 2 younger girls are from my mother remarrying and having them. So,
Okay.
but they grew up with us in the same house and everything. And I didn't. My father passed away in 2020, and he got Alzheimer's, and it moved very, very quickly. Wow. And he had become a Jehovah's Witness, and so I wasn't really able to have the closure that I wanted,
right?
You know, because I loved and adored him and just idolized him, but he had to take a job in Texas, you know, and we lived in Missouri, and then I lived in Nashville, and so the distance was just physically hard, you know, and so I'm so glad that you got to have that.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, I don't know if it was full closure, but at least.
No, it definitely was. I mean, my biggest struggle was, you know, my dad was abusive and just an awful person. He was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer when I was a freshman in high school. Mm. And my parents divorced when I was 3. And then I lived with my dad from like 3rd grade on. My mom remarried, moved from Dallas to San Antonio. And I have a brother that's 5 years older. They wanted us to stay together. And he was at that age to where all of our family, friends were this small town. And so we ended up staying with my dad, and it was rough. And then when he got diagnosed my freshman year in high school, he passed away my freshman year in college. And so, but that's when he, you know, came to know Jesus, and just, I went from this scary guy to genuinely my best friend when he passed away. And my biggest struggle was really like, I've been waiting for this guy to show up, and now you take him, was the big struggle. But he was genuinely my best friend. Yeah.
Were you mad at God?
Sure was.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, that whole I Can Only Imagine thing, that's why I was like, what do you mean he would rather be there? You know? And so it took quite a while to process.
Yeah.
But I get it now.
Well, God is always providing and protecting.
Yeah.
You know, always. And so that's what's exciting about life, especially living life as a believer, because you really do have nothing to do but just sit and wait.
Yeah.
And pray and ask for what we want or what we desire. God gives us the desires of our heart. Mm-hmm. And then we really don't have to stress. I do.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You know, because I think, you know, and you might feel this way too, but I think I'm 2 different people. One is the artist who's a boss, you know, over a lot of people and all that. And then one is the very conservative, traditional housewife, mom,
right?
You know, dote over my children to the nth degree,
right?
And all of that. So I feel like I've always been kind of, you know, stepping back and forth. And a pastor of mine said, you know, just make sure that you have a servant's heart, even when you're out on the road.
Sure.
You know, you're working and everybody's out there for you, taking care of you.
Right. Yeah.
Try to have a servant's heart.
Yeah.
You know.
You're just a good person. It kind of, you know, it tends to show up. And, you know, I used to stress out about like, you know, how I'm supposed to be in charge of stuff. And it was like, I just can't do it good enough. So I just be myself. And like you talked about how you're not one that's obsessed with music. I'm literally a guy that loves SportsCenter that just happens to sing. Like I do love music, but I'm not a music nerd. And there are guys in the band but no, I obsess over a couple of, you know, like bands that I loved growing up. That's about it.
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely the same. Like I used to be obsessed with Reba McEntire because, you know, she was huge when I was a little girl. So I grew up obsessing over her. I obsess over John Mayer. So that's one where I know every guitar note, every, you know, drum roll, everything.
I'm with you there. I'm with you.
So there's some of those albums, you know, like the Wallflowers album. Yeah. I obsessed over that. That's how I got Matt Chamberlain to come play drums, because I'm like, who's this drummer? Yeah. I mean, everything he does, I agree with. My son is a musician and he obsesses. Like, you know, he nerds out on bands that he loves and all that. But yeah, so there are a few people that I do that with, but I'm always listening to podcasts.
You're obsessing like a fan, like their music did something to you.
Yes.
You know, my son is He's in the music. He's opening for us on this tour right now, but
that's awesome.
But he'll be some kind of producer because he obsesses too, like over it all.
Yeah. Okay, so how did you know you were a singer? Who told you were a singer? And I know you're going to say, I sang in church. Did you sing in church?
I did sing in church, yeah.
I have so many people tell me that on this podcast. When I say, like, how'd you get started?
That's all I've ever done is sing in church. It grew, but
I've never sang in church.
Yeah, I've never, no lie, I've only sang in 2 bars in my life. Ever. Like I've never, that whole scene is like so foreign to me.
See, I grew up singing in a bar.
Oh, I believe it. And I know so many that have. And it's like, I was like, man, church was literally like the only place I could sing, you know?
So are you talking about a choir?
No, we little Baptist church we went to, and you'd sing a solo of some Stephen Curtis Chapman song or something,
okay.
Or there'd be like youth
worship
group musicals or whatever.
Okay,
because I grew up worship. It was a choir director in a choir. Like worship music, as we know it now, wasn't really a thing yet.
Right.
And so, so I was just singing whatever I would hear and whenever it used to be like we would go on some kind of church camp mission trip thing, and you had to sing to go on the trip. Mm-hmm. So I would do that. And
was that your mom? Was that your mom that was?
My mom
that was a believer, and
kind of my whole family. My dad grew up around the church. I would say he didn't really. It wasn't until before I was born, he was like a deacon in the church stuff, but. As far as him falling in love with Jesus, that happened when I was in high school. Like I would have bet everything he wasn't around the church because he had to just, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that go to church
there's going to be
that are abusive and have awful sides to them. And my dad was kind of that. And but my grandfather was a preacher. My grandmother was the treasurer. My mom and her twin sister played the organ and piano, and they sang their whole lives. And so the first time I sang in church, I was 5, and my mom played the piano. And then I think it was a song called "I Am a Promise," and then it wasn't. Then my voice wouldn't change. I was big dude with like a really high voice, and so it wasn't until like 8th grade where I was forced to sing again.
Did you grow late also?
I guess I don't know. Yeah.
Did you play sports?
I played football until I broke both my ankles my sophomore year in high school. And my dad, like I'm named after Bart Starr. My dad was supposed to go pro, and he's All-American at SMU. And then he got homesick and went home and quit school and married my mom.
No way.
Yeah, but I thought football would be like both my brother and I were like, we're Arthur's sons. Like, he's the only All-American from this little town. And so we thought we could never hold a candle to him, but we thought we'd play. I always wanted to. Then broke both my ankles in a game, in a scrimmage actually. And then,
my gosh.
And so I had to quit the program, and the only class available was choir. And that's how I ended up.
It's always crazy when you look back, because like you had to break your ankles so that you would write. I can only imagine.
I wish I'd have known that then, but
I'm sure you were furious.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't fun to quit football and go in and sing like an alto and choir because my voice hadn't changed yet. But I had an amazing teacher that made me believe that I could do it, and I thought I would be a youth minister in a church. And I actually, when my dad died, I was my freshman year in college. I wanted to get out of town, and my youth minister, who had just left to go to another church like a year before. Mm-hmm. I followed him to a church in Florida, and I was working with junior high, and they happened to have like a worship band. I'd never seen like an actual worship band in a church before. And Mike, our guitar player, who's 2 years younger than me, he was in that band, and they put me in charge of it. Like, you sing, we don't have to do these kids. And that was my first taste of it. And Mike and I started MercyMe after doing all that.
Amazing. And so did y'all go to LA because you were like rock and roll Christian?
I was living in Lakeland, Florida, and we decided to try doing this. I was sophomore in college. I took a fatal semester off to try to do the band thing, because we'd play at like other churches after football games, stuff like that. My grandmother, who was in Texas, she would always call, and I was always available. This is before cell phones.
Yeah.
I'd always answer the phone. She's like, "Don't you work or go to school? Why are you always home?" And I sarcastically said, "I'm trying to come up with a band name. I'm going to start a band." And she literally said, "Well, MercyMe, why don't you get a real job?"
Oh, MercyMe.
Yeah, and that's where the name came from.
Wow.
And so, but we did a camp, and Jim, our keyboard player, we met him, and he was out of Oklahoma City. I don't know how we met, and we put this little band together for camp, and he was in it. And he goes, man, we should seriously try to do this. And maybe I had really high hopes. I thought, well, if this thing works, I'd rather be centrally located out of Oklahoma City. So Mike and I packed up, moved to Oklahoma City. So I'm still a sophomore in college. I guess it keeps me young. But we started there. And then from 94 to, I wrote Imagine 99. We signed a record deal in 2000.
In Nashville?
We signed with, we were still there, but we signed with a label here. Yeah. And we were coming here all the time. We lived here from we lived here for a year, 96, 97. And, I think we did a showcase, you remember Cafe Milano? Do you remember that? Yeah. We tried that whole thing, and then we had a handful of those, Pearl Jam sounding songs.
Yeah.
And we did our set, and we had a youth group that we used to work with, be the audience, and we're like, whatever happens, you better cheer like we're the Beatles.
Yes.
So we look great. So we stacked the deck a little bit, and we did our songs, and then they cheered so much that they wouldn't shut up, and we didn't have an encore. We had played all of our songs. And they went encore, and we're like, what do we do? And so we went back out and just sang some of the worship songs we would do with them on Wednesday nights. And everything leveled up. They sang, we left the stage and they wouldn't stop singing these worship songs. And it was a moment, I remember crying okay, this is what matters.
Yeah.
And the labels that were there came up and were like, hey man, everything was kind of cool, but the worship stuff was weird. We don't know what to do with that. And it really put a bad taste in my mouth. What do you mean? That was the most moving part of the night.
Right.
And this is before worship was a movement like it is now.
Right.
And so I got turned off by it. And so we decided to move to Dallas, where there was a ministry that was traveling, doing conferences. And they had offered us the position, and we said no because we thought we were going to do Nashville. And then that turned me off. So we moved to Dallas and then kept doing our thing and made 6 records on our own. And that last one had Imagine on it. And then that whole thing was, I guess it was, I was doing one of those conferences, and I get a phone call and I answer, and it's Amy Grant. And she's like, hey, Bart, this is Amy Grant. And I hung up on her because that's something my friends would do. No, it's not. And I hung up, and then she calls back. She's like, don't hang up. And I'm like, who is this? And she goes, no, it really is Amy. And her manager found I Can Only Imagine, loaded it up in her car just to let it play. And Amy fell in love with it. And so she wanted to record it. And this was, her and Vince had just gotten married, and it was kind of her a El Shaddai kind of comeback song, so to speak. And I knew enough to if I ever have kids, they'll go to college. And so,
right.
So we said yes to her recording it, and we were still independent, but because word got around that we were the guys that wrote Amy's next big hit, we had labels start calling about us. And so we ended up signing a record deal, and the whole idea was, Amy's going to release a song. It's going to be huge. And then we'll be from the writers of Imagine, and we'll start your career. Okay. And it was like, okay, well, so we technically signed in end of 99. We spent a year making our album to give Amy plenty of time. And she takes for freaking ever, no matter what she does. And she was still not done with the right. We released our album and nothing. And we're like, are you kidding me? And they were like, yeah, she's kind of slow. And so everything we had planned was a nightmare. We were selling less records than we were independently, but now we're giving it to the label. And we were allowed to put it on our album as a B-side, but it was going to be her song, her single. Right. So we released one song. It was a flop. And we were about to release our next single. And our manager reached out to Amy and her manager and was like, any chance this might show up anytime soon? And she got on the phone and said, hey, y'all need to take this back. It's going to change your life. And so she gave the song back to us. We scrambled that next week to, this is back when you'd burn CDs and send them to stations.
Yes.
We told them, give us one more week to get this song out. And so we stayed up with the label burning CDs, and we sent them out, and everything changed. And all because of Amy giving it back. And she's been one of my best friends, and she's been there for us so many times and have changed our lives. And
wow, that is an unbelievable story.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Well, I love Amy Grant too, and I love Vince Gill. Vince Gill helped me get my first #1 record. He sang on it.
I still don't know what to say around Vince. I get a little weirded out by
me too.
I fan out a little bit, and
I still do too. Yeah. But however, I don't think I Can Only Imagine would have done what it did if Amy had recorded it. Because you wrote it, because it means so much to you. It's so authentically you and your voice.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason it's so magical. And also it's just like simple. I wouldn't have wanted much more production.
Yeah, it doesn't have a bridge. There's nothing. It's just, it's real simple.
So simple. And because the question itself or the statement itself is just so simple. Like, but I love how you spread the lyrics out. Like, I can only imagine what it will be like. Like,
we didn't know any better.
Simple.
If I had to write it now, I'm sure I'd overthink it and ruin it. But
thank God.
Yeah.
The most simple songs are the best, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah. Isn't God just amazing? Like, all of that had to happen in that way.
It's been, it was the journey's been, that happened and it ran its course in the Christian market and it went platinum and we moved on to the next album. And about that time, 9/11 happened and we got a phone call that this top 40 station in Dallas was playing I Can Only Imagine. And they were like, and I was living in Dallas, and he's like, you got to get on Wild 100. And the radio show is called Fitz and Big Gay Steven in the Morning is the name of the show. And it was kind of this Howard Stern kind of shock jock thing. And I turn it on, and all I hear him say is, stop calling, we'll play it again in a second. And for the next 4 hours, it was the only song they played in their morning show.
So everyone was requesting it.
Yeah, people were calling in tears and thanking them for playing it. And so at some point, they kept saying, we hear they're from Dallas. And so I finally called in. And I was scared to death because I knew nothing but singing in church or whatever. I didn't know if they were going to like ambush me or what.
Right.
And we got on the phone and they became some of our dearest friends. And because of that, they like back in the old days, they sent it to other DJs that they knew. And our label, we didn't know what to do because normally if you're a Christian trying to go mainstream, you kind of water it down. And we're like, it's kind of dance with the girl that brought you on this one. And so the only idea we had was we sent the burn CD, sent them and said, play it once. If you get no response, and throw it away. And everybody that played it, it went number one. Some places like New York never touched it. But we had one in Orlando, whatever their big pop station is. They had this campaign of making fun of us, because they got the CD and they were like, this is the most insane, these Christians. And they really kind of dogged us. And so they decided eventually, their fans or somebody, they do this thing where they put two songs in the ring and the fans vote. And so it was us and 50 Cent in the club.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like, and they call in, and as far as I know, I don't know if the station still exists. I know at one point to this day, it was the only song that got 100% of the vote. Like everybody voted for Imagine. And it was just,
isn't that the It's Your Birthday song?
Yeah. But this is when that song was huge. And it was just, and I think, it's just, I think the whole thing was so polarizing, and they had torn us down so much that they made us an underdog and big time.
Right.
But they became huge advocates for us after that. And so it went quadruple platinum during that season. We're trying to promote our second album, and we're playing at a church here and then playing Leno the next night, and we're going back and forth. And so some things I would never wish my worst enemy. It was so hard. We're doing like 300 shows a year. And then,
I've been there.
Yeah. And so we moved on past that and were able to, keep writing songs. And then in 2018 is when I Can Only Imagine the movie came out. And it happened again. Like we never saw it coming, but it did better than anybody thought it was. We were against somebody making a movie, but they were kind enough to have us involved, but we just thought there's not a story here.
Right.
And it did really well to where Lionsgate got behind it, and now we're about to film the sequel like next month.
Are you serious?
Yeah, there's another song of ours called Even If, which is probably our second biggest song.
I love Even If. Yeah.
So it's the story around a song Even If, where now it's my relationship with my oldest son Sam, and who's been a diabetic since he was 2. He's 23 now, and we struggled because I didn't the line blurred between being his friend and being a doctor. And so there wasn't a lot of fun moments with us because I was just trying to keep him alive, and he struggled with that. And this whole time he was obsessed with music, but would never tell me. Like, I found out he could sing through an Instagram post when he was 15.
You're lying.
No. And now it's like he's opening for us, and it's I didn't think there was a story. Somebody wanted to make a movie around Even If, and they were like, we'll just make up a story. They just loved the song. And I kept saying no because it just sounded kind of, this could be bad. And they finally got me with a screenwriter, and he's a guy that co-wrote the Imagine movie. And I'm like, and I'm complaining to him like, man, I'm trying to, this isn't going to work. You got to help me talk her down. The lady wanted to do it.
Right.
And he goes, where'd the song come from? And I told him that it was having a bad day with my son's diabetes and just a bad checkup or something. I was just tired of feeling like I had to be this professional Christian that the switch had to be on all the time. And,
yes.
And I just wanted to walk away from it all. And the guy I co-wrote with, a guy named Tim Timmons, is a dear friend. He's an artist. And I was at his house doing a writing session. And I just came from a doctor's appointment where they were telling us, Sam's got to get his blood sugar in control. He'll be gone by the time he's 21. And it was just like fighting words because we were trying. And I went to the writing session and I just dumped on him. Like, we didn't write anything. I was just like, I'm sick of this. I don't want to do this anymore. And the thing I forgot was that Tim has dealt with cancer for about 20 years. Like, he's had this rare blood cancer that they're like, you could live to your 100 or die tomorrow. Good luck. We don't know.
Oh my gosh.
And I knew this, but forgot. And so I'm telling him, you don't even know what I'm going through with this chronic illness. And then he's over there playing the piano like he's trying to have me wrap it up at an award show or something. And it kind of ticked me off. And so I was like, I'm leaving. This is not, because he's always cutting jokes. And so when I left, he sent me a voice memo and he said, man, I've been trying to write what you're talking about for 5 years. And he sent me the chorus of Even If. And I pulled over in tears, and we ended up finishing it in a couple of days. And anyway, I'm telling this guy, and he's like, man, that's the movie. And so from that, he approached Lionsgate and said, what if we bring all the characters, Trace Atkins, everybody back to replay these roles?
Right.
So it's technically a sequel, but it's about another. My daughter put it best. A sequel for a songwriter would be just the next song. Exactly. And so, but yeah, so they're filming here in Nashville, thank God. And they start 1st of April, I think.
That is so exciting.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I hope it turns out good. We've got an amazing cast. Milo Ventimiglia, who's from This Is Us. He's the dad in This Is Us.
I love him.
He's playing Tim in the movie, and the guy from the first playing me. And yeah, there's a Joshua Bassett, the pop singer's playing. He's in it, and it's a really great cast. And
wow.
So yeah,
nobody asked me to be in it.
Well, there's still time. Yeah, I'm on tour, so I'm out Thursday through Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm wherever they are here in Nashville, and then they stop shooting in May. But the big payoff scene, we're filming at Red Rocks and doing this. That's the big moment where my son gets to kind of share the stage with me. And
amazing.
The script's amazing. I hope it turns out good. But I'm glad
that is so exciting.
I get to watch and I have to be in it, so it's going to be awesome.
I can't wait. I cannot wait to see that. I also love the song that you sent me the other day.
Oh, Death. Yeah.
Oh, Death. Yeah. And of course, I can't think of fancy like guy.
Walker Hayes.
Yeah. I'm the worst with names.
That's okay.
The worst with names. You wrote it with Walker Hayes and your band guys, or who all is on that songwriting?
Let's see. I guess MercyMe, ultimately co-wrote it with Walker, I think. But we had gotten all of our songs for the album. We're working on a new album that comes out in August. We've been working on it for a year. Mm-hmm. And when you just get the batch of songs, because picking songs is the hardest thing, and especially when you overwrite. And so we finally got it narrowed down. It's like, lock it in. Nobody talk to me anymore. We've got our songs.
Right.
And Walker just is like, hey, man, are you taking songs? And I was like, no, we're not. Because my biggest fear is, what if it's bad? I can't look him in the eyes anymore. Yeah. And he goes, tough. I'm singing it anyway. So he sent me the chorus to Oh Death, and I loved it. And I loved it for a couple of reasons. One, just because it's just so ironic, this upbeat song about dying. But my father-in-law had just been given a month to live with leukemia, and he's the godliest man I've ever known in my life. He was my second grade Sunday school teacher. Like, I've known him my entire life.
Wow.
And he's the guy, he was told he had a month to live, and he just said, well, I know you don't know for sure, but just give me 2 weeks so I can tell everybody I love him. And so that month that we spent with him was the craziest. Like, people were filing into his house and he was just loving on them. And like he took his own suit to the funeral and told them, I'm getting ready for the wedding banquet. Like that he was going to wear at his funeral to get it cleaned. And he's that kind of guy. And so when I got this song, I was like, if Imagine was written for my dad, the story of redemption, this is Frank, my father-in-law. This is Odette's his song, because this dude is steadfast, and he's always told me I'm the worst dancer, but I'm going to get down when I get there. And so it was just the perfect song. And so Walker had no idea what he was stepping into when he sent it. But,
and Odette is out.
Yeah. It came out end of January. So it's doing great so far.
Yeah, it's great. And you're right. And I love those songs that are like juxtaposition.
Sure.
Like it should be a sad, slow, but it's absolutely wonderful. And I also love your solo albums from 2006, 2008.
Yeah.
2008 one is so New Orleans.
Yeah.
Like, what's that about?
It's just my most favorite kind of music ever.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah. Like, I love anything that has an old soul to it.
What's the technical name of that kind of music?
Man, I don't know what you call it. I do the same. I call it New Orleans. Like, it's like that Harry Connick kind of, there should be a brass band. And
you picture people like marching in a parade.
Anything like that, or anything it's swampy or anything. I just love, I kind of grew up in East Texas and grew up on a lot of that kind of music, but I just love old sounding stuff.
Yeah.
And
I love it because it's all these, Christian hymns and old songs that we've heard, but you made them all like
totally
so fun. I sang I Saw the Light when I was a little girl. I grew up singing that song, and I was just like, I can't believe he recorded that.
That was everything I grew up on. And my dream was being in a band. This was my one chance to get, I guess I do kind of nerd out on some, like I used to know all the liner notes growing up.
Me too.
And so I had the wish list of Nashville players I wanted to be on it. And so I got the Gordon Kennys and Jerry McPhersons and all these guys. And and brought them in. And instead of knowing what we're playing, I brought them in and said, all right, let's figure this out, which they're like, we're session players. We don't get to chime in.
Yeah.
And so we created the whole thing together, and it was like two of my favorite records I ever made were those two.
They're great.
Yeah.
They're both incredible. What are the names of the
Hymned and Hymned Again.
Hymned and Hymned Again. That's right. Yeah. I love that. Wait, the Nashville session guys do chime in.
Well, they do.
I always make them.
But I credit them as writers and everything.
Totally.
But that's not the norm. That's no way. They'll, you got me for 4 hours, and you get a Gordon Kennedy's going to do it a certain way or whatever. But I was like, even though a lot of these were, public domain, we put a new copyright on it, and I added all of them.
Yeah.
And not knowing I had best friends for life for doing that.
Yes.
They were just like, and they're the ones that forced me to do the second one because they loved it so much.
I'm sure that meant the world to them. But I always feel like the studio musicians are co-producers.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. But I assume that's how it was, but they're like, no, it's not normally that.
Yeah, because I co-write almost all of my songs, but it's just like, I'm so grateful if you go in and you start the session and somebody gives you a riff.
Yeah.
Like the beginning of I Can Only Imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
When someone gives you that and you're just like, thank you so much for caring and being creative and, God, I wish I could think of his name. But
even if you walk in with a song that you wrote and they put their flavor on it, it's amazing. But I literally had a list of hymns that we sang in church, and that was it. Like, I had no idea of where I wanted to take it until we got in there. And what was cool is because they were so invested, like, Gordon would get Steve Wariner to play on one, or Robert Randolph, or Vince Gill. They would just like go, they would run into these guys and go, hey man, you need to jump on this track. And so they did so much heavy lifting that I could have never pulled off myself.
Yeah. So when you went in, you didn't know it was going to be New Orleans sound.
No, they just want to know what I loved. And I was like, man, wouldn't this be awesome? And I'm technically not the, I'm one that I'll reference songs. Like, hey, I love Come By Me by Harry Connick. And so, just another, Closer Walk with Thee. That's all I'll do is like, man, I love this. How do we steal it without stealing it? That kind of thing. Yeah. And so that's where it started. And then these players were so ridiculous that it was like, hands down my two favorite records I've ever made.
They're amazing. Everybody should listen to them tonight.
Yes, please do.
Please do.
You'll be one of the 500
and buy it. And I always tell people to go to iTunes and buy it.
Yeah.
Don't just stream it.
Gosh,
buy it.
When's the last time I bought an album?
I know. I always tell people to do that. And when I post about somebody's thing, I always post the iTunes.
Yeah.
99 cents.
Yeah.
Like go do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead. And so you guys are working hard all summer on tour. Your son's opening for you. Is his voice like yours?
No, he's got this singer-songwriter kind of, he's got a vibe, but like I'm probably, I sing really hard and kind of powerful, and he's got this soft kind of, yeah, it's pretty rad.
We're so similar,
you
and me, because I have a really that
big
powerful,
voice.
It's like a razor, and just like, I mean, as soon as I go in to start doing vocals, I see the engineers like turning down all the knobs, because I have such a big mouth.
Yeah.
And my daughter Olivia is an unbelievable singer.
Yeah.
But she sings really soft. But her thing is just like the Ariana Grande.
The runs. Yeah.
And we die laughing because like she'll sing like Tennessee Whiskey or something in a show, and we die laughing because we're like, we know she's gonna end up on the one or whatever, but it takes her forever to get there, and
I can't do runs, man. I mean, Sam's more of the John Mayer type, real soft, and he's stunning. He's just
low voice or high voice.
He's kind of he's got an unbelievable falsetto. But I don't know if you heard Damien Rice. He sounds a lot like Damien Rice.
Who is that?
He's just a indie singer-songwriter. I don't know. He's been around forever, but it's he's he's got, or I don't even know, Alec Benjamin. You ever heard of that guy? I can't think of his songs. He's kind of, I don't want to say he's got a whiny voice. He's got a thin but very vibey voice.
Right.
It's funny because like, I know it's unintentional, but even with his voice, he found a lane away from me.
Yes.
And like, looking back, it seemed intentional, but he had no idea what he was doing. But he just was like, I'm not going to be the power singer.
Right.
And he just rips your heart out. And we moved to Nashville when he was 12 from Dallas. And we gave him guitar lessons. Somebody said, make him take guitar. It'll be his best friend. Because he really struggled. And so he was getting really good at guitar, but I'd never heard him sing a note until literally there's a Need to Breathe song that he posted on Instagram when he was 14 or 15. And I'm laying in bed, my wife's playing it. And I was like, whoever that is, I'll buy it. She goes, that's your son. And I remember just sobbing.
Oh my God.
I mean, literally the first note I ever heard, except when he was like 6 singing Hakuna Matata or whatever.
Right.
But and it's still to this day, it's so, that song is so good. And he's just, and we found common ground. Like, we're best friends because of that music. And he listens to me, and we gave him a room in our studio upstairs, and that's all he does is just work on music.
Amazing. So, what's the Need to Breathe song?
The one that he sings, it's a song called Darling. It's like a B-side.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a...
What's their big song?
Oh, there's several. Brother, let me be your shelter.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
But he was Need to Breathe to open for us years ago, and Sam met him and fell in love with him, and but he's the guy that finds the deep cuts and sings one you never heard. I
love that, and I also love voices that are not, just the norm mainstream. I'm obsessed with voices like that. So I'm sure I would love your son's voice. But it's just, have you seen the Bob Dylan movie?
I have not.
It's really good.
Yeah, he has, and he loved it.
It's really good. And, it just reminds you, like, actually, some of the most famous artists in the world don't have the typical, like, big power voices.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of that Zach Bryan vibe, kind of, if there was a country. I mean, like, it's... that or something like that. It's cool. He's got a vibe, and it's his doesn't have much of a range, but he just knows where he fits, and he's very tasteful, and
isn't it fun to watch your kids do what you do?
It is. It's scary. I don't want to be that little league parent that the kid's not great, but I'm going to tell him he is. I was so nervous that he wouldn't be great because he really wanted to do it, and the first time I heard him sing was, it blew my mind. And, he's 10 times more talented than I ever was that age.
That's amazing. Yeah, because and as a parent, like I always tell my kids, I would never do that. Like if you weren't great, I wouldn't tell you that you were.
Yeah, I probably would.
I wouldn't.
I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah. No, I would not.
Or I would no longer talk to them like, what's that? Sorry, hard of hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably avoid it.
Yeah. Well, Or you would just like cancel whatever, like Sam and I are supposed to meet today. I'm canceling.
I'm totally avoiding him. I'm doing the let's do lunch in Nashville bit, and we never go.
Yeah. What's your wife like?
Shannon, she's awesome. She was my first girlfriend in 7th grade.
Oh my gosh.
We didn't date that whole time, but she was my first girlfriend. And then I came to my senses when she was in college and we got back together.
Uh-huh.
And but that whole time we were like best friends. We talked about who we should and shouldn't be dating kind of stuff.
Right.
And she's awesome. She's like I'm chatty and kind of.
Are you hard to live with or easy to live with?
I think I'm really hard to live with. I'm just messy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I'd be curious what she says, but she's the opposite of me. Uh-huh. She's kind of shy. I think she's the funniest person on earth, but nobody else knows it.
Yeah.
But she's got it under control, and she's homeschooling our kids and amazing at it. I'm a mess, ADD, and can't keep a thought for very long. And I'm her 6th child, basically. Yeah. And she does it well.
It reminds me of Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah.
He always says that he's his wife's 6th child or whatever.
Yeah. That's what I feel like. And so she puts up with all of us.
Well, we're artists, though. We're weird.
Right? Yeah.
I feel like I'm one of the most normal artists out there, though.
Yeah.
Because
I feel normal most of the time. Yeah. But I'm normal almost like I'm a messy person. Mm-hmm. Like what I mean, like when I get home with a suitcase, I will live out of that suitcase until it's all gone. I never unpack.
That's just lazy, Bart.
Well, I like being messy. Sounds better than lazy, but yes. I mean, if I shower daily, that's a big week. I'm not even kidding. Like I hate shaving. I hate it all. I'm lazy. You're right. But
yeah. What do you like to do? What's your habits? Are you a TV junkie?
I can be.
Yeah.
I mean, I love anything Dallas sports. Growing in Dallas. I'm a massive sports fan. Mm-hmm. I love playing golf. I'm terrible at it. And then I do, if we're making an album, I will obsess about trying to finish the album. So I've been in that for about a year, but I kind of do whatever my kids want to do.
Right.
It's like I'm a chauffeur. I drive people around, and
that does kind of happen. That becomes your life. Your
I love
existence.
it. It's my favorite thing.
Same.
I told somebody this morning. I was like, my second to last child, Sophie. She's turned 16. Mm-hmm. She actually got her license, but has no desire to drive. But I've realized the first time that I've mourned my kids growing up, the real moment of independence is when they start driving. Because
I always tell people that same thing. We're so much alike.
You hear their whole lives in the backseat of the car when they're talking to somebody. And I'm really grieving the fact that Miles turns 14 this week. And I'm like, dadgummit, he's my ride or die. Like, he's the last one. And there's so many other things that don't bother me. But when they start to drive, I'm like, I will never drive him to Little League again.
It killed me. When I first watched Avery leave the house in his Jeep right after he got his license, I was like, everybody's wrong. This is the most pivotal age.
100% agree.
16 when they get there.
It's the first time it hurts for me. People are like, oh, he gave up his pacifier. I'm like, okay, Shannon was sad about that. I didn't care.
Yeah. Who cares?
But when Sam, my oldest, when he drove off, and then, normally they love driving so much. It's like, if we went to Cracker Barrel, he'll always want to follow us. I want to drive my car.
Right.
And I realized it just made me sad. And then it made me very aware of every kid after him.
Yes.
Gracie, she wouldn't get her license till she was like 18. She had no desire to get it. Mm-hmm. And I probably enabled her. I was like, take your time, man. You don't need to drive. Yeah. So
they're without you. You're not able to protect them once they're in the car alone. They just go.
But I would drive all their friends in the back seat. I would hear everything about everyone.
Right.
Just keep my mouth shut.
It's so fun.
Yeah. And so my wife, she's like, you can drive them everywhere. So that's where I was all day today, was running around in class.
I love it.
I do too.
Our hour's up. I hate it.
It feels like 10 minutes.
It goes by so fast. I always tell people that. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Good luck with filming the film.
Yeah.
Even if. That's incredible. And again, I just want you to know that you really did change my life with your song. And I know that you probably heard that so much, but even as a believer, that song increased my faith.
Wow.
And it is still a song that I go to when I'm doubting or when I have fear. That song takes away my fear.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
The Holy Spirit really just did a work on you when you wrote that. And for all the reasons and how it happened, I love Amy, but I'm so glad that she didn't record it, because there's something about your version, your voice, everything, and it just brings me comfort. It's like a psalm.
Oh,
so
well, thank you.
Thank you so much for being with me today.
Of course. Well, thanks, because you were the first person I kind of was starstruck in those 2 seconds when you walked by and said that. You're like the first famous person I met. So, yeah.
See, that shocks me, because you never feel famous, but
nah, that's a good thing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
This was great.